Well, that battle will continue at Wilton Mill. This battle is renewed straight away. It's going to be a very tight one for MiniGP UK 190. Marco Holt, Henry McCartney and Blake Wilson will renew their rivalry. Jenson Bishop P4, Arnie Carr P5, Lucas King P6. This race has got classic written all over it. Annabelle McCarthy finishes off that field, and then we have Izzy Carter in 8th place ahead of the pole sitter for MiniGP 190-70, Wilson Dilks ahead of Travis Shaw, then Ollie O'Gorman and Rupert White, and then it's David Wilton and John and Oliver Pitcher. Bring it on.
Should be a cracker. If you were with us earlier and you missed that first race, you might want to rewind. Hopefully you recorded the race and you can watch it back, because there was drama with 2 laps to go as Henry McCartney in 2nd place here dumped it right on this corner and scored no points in that race, and that means there's only 3 points now between him in 2nd place and Marco Holt, the leader here out front, and that means that Holt is in front of him in the championship, and the top 2 in that class go to the World Championships at the end of the season. So it's all to play for now, back on after Holt dumped it in the final turn at Rowra. Henry McCartney dumped it here coming onto the valley with 2 laps to go last time earlier in the day. That is the man pictured, Henry McCartney from Sevenoaks in Kent. He crashed earlier, no championship points, so he's now just 3 points ahead of Holt. But the way things sit, 25 points for the win, 20 points for second, 16 for third. Holt is now ahead of McCartney as things stand. Live championship points on track. Yeah,
of course, the championship points structure is the same as is utilised in MotoGP, so it's the same points format, but you cannot afford to drop it. You cannot afford a non-score. Not like other forms of junior motorsport, there are no dropped scores, so you cannot afford to bin it. And Marco Holt and Henry McCartney have now both done that over the course of this season. They cannot afford a single mistake. Blake Wilson is getting a lovely opportunity here. The pressure's almost off him, but not when Marco Holt and Henry McCartney are going to come to town. Here they go again. Side by side, the battle round the outside. Oh my word. That is about as roughhouse as it can get on the approach to the Penrith climb. That was absolutely extraordinary stuff.
Absolute confidence there by the championship leader, doing a round the outside Uncle Stan going on to Penrith climb. That was confidence in spades. And it is now Henry McCartney in 3rd place, and he can't afford to be in 3rd place, Jake. He is now in 3rd place in the championship as a consequence, even if he finished 2nd. And Holt is getting away here as these 2 battle. Even if he finishes 2nd, Holt would be in front of him now in the championship, and only 2 go to the World Championships. We've got 2 rounds to come at Wilton Mill coming up in around about 3 weeks' time. So make sure you don't miss that, guys, because this one's going all the way to the wire.
For my money, Blake Wilson just pulled off the overtake of the weekend. It's one thing to dive and get the move at Penrith Climb, but to hold it from round the outside, that shows commitment. That guy is ironclad strong.
Live championship points on screen now. Wilson on 187, Holt on 160, Henry McCartney on 154. As things stand now, Henry McCartney needs to make up a place here. That will put him within a couple of points.
Oh, there's a lovely dive. McCartney gets it done, but on the return, is Blake Wilson going to storm back on the inside of the left-hander? No way. I said earlier you'd be crazy to try that move. Blake Wilson is not only sane, but he's mad. He's absolutely smashed it. What an overtake. That really did take nerves of steel.
Well, for about 4 or 5 seconds, Henry McCartney was within 2 points of Marco Holt in the championship points, but just like that, he drops back another 4. He's going to score 16 points as things stand. Marco Holt was going to score 25, and it's those 2 championship places at the World Championships that are on offer here for the top 2 riders in this class. And it's going to be between, you have to think, it's going to be between McCartney and Holt, because the man in 2nd place on track as they go past the back markers in the other class, and that's good riding. By the way, the pair of them looking up the inside was McCartney, couldn't get it done. Taking advantage is Blake Wilson. Blake Wilson can't afford to crash, by the way, Jake. If he crashes, he would lose all the points from a race, and he can't afford, it's not like he's so far ahead, he can afford to crash, he can't.
No, indeed, this is so tight at the top between these 3, but Marco Holt did get a little bit held up in the traffic. A lot of the lead he had built up has gone. It's still big enough that he doesn't have to break too much of a sweat. But look at the time he lost on that lap. 7/10 to Wilson, half a second to McCartney. This race is not done yet. Three young riders with eyes on stalks. Marco Holt leads the way. Blake Wilson second, provisional championship leader if it stays like this. Henry McCartney third position, 6 points back from Marco Holt. Needs to get ahead of the man who has just stormed in round the outside and taken away his party piece.
And it's interesting, if you look at those championship points, a 27-point lead, 2 rounds to go at Wilton Mill coming up in the next month. Now that would mean, Jake, he can come into this race, into the last 2 races of the season, and he can sit in 3rd place and know it's enough for him to go to the World Championships. And he will take a view on that. If he doesn't take a view, then he's not thinking clearly, because he would definitely not need to get involved in any action at all. He cannot afford to dump the bike here, but he's got enough championship points in his pocket as things stand. A 27-point championship lead going into the last 2 races. Sits in 3rd, goes to the World Championship.
McCartney got held up at exactly the worst time. He got held up at the wrong point on the circuit, and look at the gap that Blake Wilson has now been able to pull on Henry McCartney. This is not what he needed at all. Blake Wilson has definitely given himself a little bit of a pat on the back with that one. He timed the move right. Henry McCartney got squeezed, and look, he lost a good 3/10 of a second just in that section. So it's a really tricky situation for him to be in now, as Blake Wilson has got Marco Holt just in front of him, but he's got Henry McCartney a long way back compared to where he was a lap ago. This is a good chance now for Blake Wilson to drop the hammer, as Marco Holt is hoping that Wilson doesn't catch him.
Now, interestingly, 2 of the riders here, Marco Holt has come into this weekend knowing, I need to win both races, nothing less than that will do, and it looks like he's going to do that. Now, Blake Wilson will know going to the final 2 rounds, he can not only sit in 3rd place and go to the World Championships, he'll actually win the championship, whatever the other 2 do on the day. He would win the championship anyway. That's a big enough lead he's got. However, Henry McCartney needed to come here after Marco Holt crashed at Rowrah and not crash. And he's done exactly that. He's crashed, and now Holt is right back in the mix. And in fact, he's in front of him in the championship.
Well, it's very nearly pressure completely off for Blake Wilson running in 2nd place. Marco Holt is going to bounce back from his Rowrah woes in the best possible fashion. He absolutely punches his way in this one, and he's on the bike standing in jubilation. Marco Holt knows exactly what he has achieved.
Yeah, he knew it. He knew it going through the line. That is fantastic points for him. And he is back in the mix. And don't forget, when McCartney went down, he nearly took him out. So he saw him go down and knew at that point, I am back in the mix for the championship now.
Marco Holt takes the victory from Blake Wilson and Henry McCartney, with Arnie Carr in 4th. The MiniGP 190/70 victory goes the way of Wilson Dilks. And look at that, 27 points over Marco Holt, another 6 over McCartney. It's almost job done.